Welcome back to This is the Vet. I'm thinking this is our biggest game we will have covered for BYU. What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that, Brandon? Is this the biggest game?
Oh yeah, this is a huge game. I mean, this is the reason you joined the Big 12, I think. And this game, we have a little bit of a history with Texas. Texas is an amazing program, big name, top 10 team. So there's a lot of things to look forward to in this game. So it's for sure the biggest game we've covered on this channel. So I'm excited for this one. We'll see. We'll see how the result goes, but we're just going to kind of talk about what we think is going to happen and make our guesses based on what's happened in the season, Tanner. So I know you're the stat guy usually. So any interesting stats heading into this one that we should know about?
Just, I think you mentioned that the biggest one is just how many times BYU has won in the times they've played. I
Yeah,
know what's been circulating on Twitter is that Taysom Hill picture of him hurdling the player. That's just one of those that'll go down in history, right?
yeah,
Texas was definitely not the football team they are now, right? Going through some
yeah,
struggles. Um, but for BYU to beat a name like Texas doesn't matter how bad they may be that season. That's something you remember, especially in that fashion. Um, so that's one of the stats, and then we'll get into some other ones as we break down how it's looking, But um,
yeah,
one thing I wanted to cover is a loss here doesn't ruin the season, right? I think
no,
we've already had the two losses, so it's not like we're riding an undefeated wave. Um, so it's one of those situations where we got nothing to lose going into this game. We shouldn't feel any outside pressure of we got to do this to save the season or we got to remain perfect. This is one of those upset games, which not calling it an upset, but it's one of those ones where you see upsets happen because one team has nothing to lose and the other has everything to lose. Coming in with a backup quarterback, coming in with you have to be perfect the remaining season if you have any hopes of going to the playoffs. So I'm not getting my hopes up, but there's some stuff brewing that has the is the right. You've got two paths: lose or pull an upset. It's like BYU has just turned themselves to possibly enter that path. Nothing
yeah.
concrete, but there's the right things happening that could be something.
Yeah, and as you can see below, Texas obviously favored by 18 in this game, but we're both BYU guys, so we're going to kind of talk about ways that BYU is going to win this game because I think the expected outcome is Texas wins, take care of business at home against a lesser opponent like BYU. So as far as Texas goes, we can kind of just say all they need to do to win is play their game. But we're going to talk about ways maybe BYU can win, what they need to improve on. We saw the offense for BYU struggling a little bit in the second half, or I should say quite a bit in the second half, after a really good first half against Texas Tech. So I have some thoughts on how they can win, but what's one of your thoughts on how maybe BYU competes and covers the spread and maybe pulls an upset?
Yeah. So one being it's the backup quarterback, but I think that actually I'll put that on Texas's strengths when we get to talking about them. I have some stuff written down. How BYU pulls this out is how the other two teams that almost pulled it out or did pull it out, right? Oklahoma was able to run the ball and throw the ball on Texas. Okay. So, and then the next one was, who was it that I had written down? Don't think I have it here. Houston attacked through the air. Not so much the
Yeah,
ground, really not even on the ground, but it was through the air. So if BYU wants any shot of pulling an upset in this game, they got to be either going to the air heavily, which we already are, or get some sort of run game and pass game. Because if we can get the run game, then Texas has to defend the run instead of just saying we're defending the pass because that's all they can do. Our guys will take care of it up front without extra help. My second thing, how they get it done, and we talked about this in our other Texas Tech recap was they have to be scoring almost every drive to beat a really good team and an offensive team like Texas. You got to be scoring every drive, or you have to hope Texas poops the bed, right? Like it either has to be Texas plays the worst game of their lives, or BYU comes out and plays the best game of their lives, and it's just too much that Texas can't keep up. So those are the two ways I have.
Yeah, so I have a couple thoughts on that. And you said scoring every drive, and I think that's going to be important. And if they don't, then my number one key is to win the turnover battle again. That's been the way BYU beat Cincinnati, beat Texas Tech, and I think if they can have 2 turnovers or force 2 turnovers and give up none, then there's a chance BYU kind of gains some extra possessions. Hopefully, getting some turnovers on Texas's side of the field, and then they could turn that into points. I think that's going to be a big key in this game. If they don't win the turnover battle, if it's equal, like Texas gets 1 and BYU gets 1, then it's going to be a tough chance for BYU unless they score every drive, like you said. So I think winning the turnover battle, kind of the defense playing a key role in this game, giving the offense some good opportunities to score. And then on top of that, this is just about field position. This is another thought, is the punting game could be huge in this game. If BYU has chances to pin Texas deep and then force turnovers, or force them deep and then force them to punt, then you can they're going to have to gain some advantages as far as field position goes, I think. So special teams will be important as well. And that's usually a side of the ball we don't talk about is special teams, but in this game I think it's going to play a big role. The punting, the return game, if BYU can get in some advantageous positions, then they'll have a good shot to win this game. So you got to give your offense the best chance. I think BYU needs a little help in this game. And then you mentioned as well the passing game, because Houston actually threw the ball really well against Texas last week. So I know Texas has some injuries in the secondary, and so that seems to be a part of the field they can kind of attack and maybe get some deep balls. I know we've mentioned the deep balls. That's one of my other things, is that they're going to need some big plays in this game as well. And that kind of follows with what I was saying in point 1, but point 2 is big plays from the offense. If LJ Martin can break off a big run like he did last week, or they can get Chase Roberts, deep on a pass, then I think that's their kind of gives them some chances to win. And then the other last point, and then we can get to the defense, is third down conversions have to be limited in this game, especially like third and shorts, even third and longs. I swear BYU's giving up often, so they're gonna have to play a lot better on third down. Those are my kind of main thoughts on this one. Do you have any stats about the defense?
I just have some stats prepared about what's kind of going wrong. How do they not pull the upset? Let me display. Right, rushing yards per game, 85. Okay, third down conversion percentage, 30%. Right, I call them the BYU woes. First one is a no. It's pretty obvious. We're not running. But the second one, you look at it, and that's dismal. To be that 30%. We got to keep that offense on the field, as we said, scoring those points. So let's pop over to Texas, right? Yards per point for opponents. Opponents are needing to get 19 yards to score 1 point on Texas. Really good. Okay. Opponent third down. Okay. 28%. That's not good for any BYU fan looking at that. And opponents' yards per play, 4.2. So their defense is going to come into this ready to shut down BYU. It's going to take BYU coming out and finding some ways to expose what weaknesses there are, because I'm not going to say Texas is perfect in every aspect. They're good. They're very talented. And I think diving into another thing that could be a strength for them, we're seeing them on their second string quarterback, right? Malik Murphy. But this could be turned into a strength for Texas really easy. I put some stuff down. There's a lot of talk that he's primed and ready to step into the role. Guy's a giant, right? Cannon of an arm. And I put, he's surrounded by weapons, and this is a game for him to prove how great he is. he's going to come into this knowing I'm the second string. I've got Manning behind me. You got Ewers in front of me. This is a game he can come in and just show how good he is, why Texas went after him. So that's a little worrisome as a BYU fan to see that it's not like this is a backup who comes in with his knees shaking. This is a backup coming in ready to make his mark, ready to show next season I'm going to be the guy. So that's a little worrisome for me.
Yeah, it's great that you mentioned that. This is the backup quarterback. Doesn't necessarily mean this is an easy win for BYU. He may be susceptible to more mistakes, but I think he has a lot to prove as far as his talent goes, because he's been talked about as, I think it was mentioned on Locked On, but he could be a starter at a lot of other Power 5 schools. I think there's a lot of teams that he could start for. He just happens to be at Texas, where Ewers kind of had that role and is playing well. So I think he has a lot to prove. Whether he stays at Texas and he's the starter next year, I don't know what Ewers is going to do. I think he could enter the draft, but he could also stay. So it depends on what he does. But either way, this gives him an opportunity to kind of prove himself, and maybe he gets in the transfer portal and goes and starts somewhere else. But you mentioned he has a ton of weapons. Xavier Worthy, their receiver, he's a high draft pick, I think. He's a great receiver, great hands, really quick. So it'll be interesting if BYU can keep up with him. And then he also has help with the run game with Jonathan Brooks. This is the second running back named with the last name Brooks we played in a row, and another really great running back. So he's probably just as good, if not better, than Taj Brooks. So what do you think about stopping their weapons? I feel like it's a tall task to kind of slow them down, even with Malik Murphy as the backup in. I think Malik Murphy can sling it. He's 6'5", he's huge. I wonder if he's going to run the ball at all. It looks like in high school we were looking, he didn't run the ball too much. But a guy that size could do some damage with his legs, I think. So
yeah.
Any other thoughts on Malik Murphy?
I'm just worried it'll be a Hoover situation, right? Like we give Murphy the chance to come in and put up some numbers that just everyone says, wow, what a game. He threw for 4 touchdowns, and he went, there were only 4 incomplete passes, and that's what the real worry is for me here, is that he shines, Texas shines, because I hate catching them off of them almost losing to Houston, right? I hate it. And the reason is because well-disciplined and well-coached teams following a loss or a close competition to a team they should have beat, more often than not come out swinging the next game. And that's what worries me about this. I would have rather caught them coming off a win against somebody and hoping that they are a little high on themselves. But I think coming off a loss, and it's just, I think it's a tall ask for BYU, even just to cover the 18. I had it at 19 from the computer model. I'm seeing 21 to 24. I know that's a lot. That could be the TCU game talking, but if BYU's not careful, if TCU's putting up those numbers, what can Texas do? So
yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, I have this score, I have it kind of right around 18. I think it could swing either, it could be like a 17-point loss for BYU, anywhere, like you mentioned, 24-point loss. And it might be a little bit of that TCU game, but also Texas is a lot more talented. I mean, compared to TCU, Texas is like a whole nother ball game pretty much. And Texas Tech hasn't proved to be that great this year. So that was a good win to get, but it kind of expected, and this is going to be a real challenge. So my number one goal for BYU, though, as a fan, maybe you can say yours, but my number one goal is to just not be embarrassed in this game. If BYU can go and compete and kind of show, okay, we can hang with some of these Big 12 teams or the big names, then I think that says a lot about BYU. What's your goal as a fan? Like, besides a win, what do you hope for in this game to see?
Very similar. I'm going to be at this game And what I
Oh
want
yeah.
to see is just them find the end zone, at least finding the end zone. I'm going to say 2 times, okay? 14 points with 2 field goals, okay? And what that shows me is they're able to get something going. They find the end zone twice. There's some drives that don't find the end zone, but you're still getting a little bit of excitement that they could. They kick the field goals. I just need it to be, it doesn't even have to be a close game. BYU just has to score, not just score once, score those 4 times, two touchdowns, 2 field goals, and then have Texas only be, that line is perfect. If Texas wins by 21, it's expected, but the game doesn't feel like it's totally gone out of hand. And that's going to sound bad because losing a game by 18 would be something where it's like they took care of business. So I'd be fine if Texas takes care of business, but we're not embarrassed is a great way you said it. So
Yeah, I have it somewhere similar. I have BYU finding the end zone twice and getting a field goal. So I have them around 17 points. I think you had them around 20 points. So at least showing a little bit of life on offense against a pretty great defense in Texas. And then I have Texas scoring around 34 points. So I'll be more optimistic and say that BYU covers and they only lose by 17. And then that will hit the over for me as well. So, but this could easily be a game where maybe both offenses struggle a little bit. Maybe there's not the rhythm that Texas is expected to have with Malik Murphy, and maybe it's a little lower, like maybe it's 28-13 or something like that. But I could see Texas still putting up points even with the backup. But it'll be interesting to see if they click the same as they do with Ewers. And Ewers moves on his legs quite a bit, and we don't expect that from Murphy, but if he does, then BYU could be in trouble, especially if he can run for some 3rd downs and stuff. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I hope they just compete and don't get embarrassed, and hopefully no BYU fans are too upset because we're playing Texas, so perspective's important. You can't forget the perspective and call for everybody's jobs just because they lost to Texas.
Yes, absolutely.
But the one thing I don't want to see is BYU scoring like 3 points. That would just
or something like 4 interceptions from Slovis, or something like 5 yards rushing. Those things are where that would be.
This is a game where I'm okay if the defense gives up some points, but the offense has to look like somewhat decent. Especially with Houston, they put up 31 or 24 points.
Yeah.
And so I feel like BYU is better than Houston, so they should be able to put up the
college football. What a weird thing we enjoy.
It is, yeah.
It's just at any time, the worst team can put up points on the best team.
And that's what gives you the little bit of hope.
Yeah, the best team can just look like the worst team. And wouldn't it be great if that was this Texas game? But I'm thinking if we have to go to that line, I got Texas to cover. You've got it. No.
Okay.
I think it'll be good no matter what. We want these big games. They're great for BYU. They're great for recruiting. It's what we need. So welcome to the Big 12, although they are leaving. But Utah comes in, and we know what they can do to us too. So
yeah, they're already expected to win the whole conference next year.
I know they're
gonna talk about that the whole offseason. So I was gonna ask something, but I forgot. Oh, so you're gonna be at the game, so you're already like being cautiously negative, or you're being a realist, right? But if BYU is only down by 7 going into the 4th quarter, how are you feeling sitting in the stadium?
Oh, it would be a great feeling. I'm a wuss, right? I don't like feeling, like if let's say BYU were winning by some miracle by 14 points or wins, it'll be great to walk out of there with a smile, but it's also like you're surrounded by burnt orange. You know what I mean? And it's like,
So,
but I'm not
me
going
and
to
you,
start any beef. I would never start any
yeah.
beef.
Hey, we went to the USA Mexico game in Vegas.
Yes, we
It
did.
was 90% Mexico fans, and USA won, and it was an ugly game. So if you can survive that, I think you'll be fine.
That's true. I took my shirt off on that one on one of the goals.
Yeah.
So, and that one was, holy cow, that was a lot of green.
That environment was crazy. So
So I think I can do Texas. So
yeah, just gotta be careful.
yeah.
No, but yeah, it'll be a fun game. We always have hope because it's college football, and the Big 12 has been kind of crazy this year. Anybody seems like they can beat anyone, so why not? Why not BYU?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Have a day.
But we'll have to follow up on the recap. You have Texas covering, and then you have the over as well. This is what it sounded like.
Yeah, I'd have to take the over. Why not? Why
Yeah.
not just say Texas gets 50 themselves?
That would be rough, but I'm okay if as long as the offense does something.
It's like 45-0 or something. The over
but-
doesn't hit. Those are the worst as a bettor when it's like the team absolutely kills them, but yet doesn't
Yeah.
get the over because they have to carry all the points themselves.
Yeah,
So
sucks. No, but you say you're going to be in Texas, so we'll probably do a recap once you get back or something, or you can post a short. But you have to take a video while you're at the game, put it on the channel.
stadium. Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
I will for sure.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for watching. Go Cougars. If you're a Texas fan watching, comment what you think the final score is going to be, and we'll disagree with you in the comments. And any other thoughts, Tanner?
No, that's it. That's it. Go Cougars.
Yep. See you guys on